We'll try.
Are we repelling it?
No, we're not repelling it.
Letting them know that it's on the trail, or along the trail. This is a nice little sample.
It's
Probably
a very
older
nice sample.
than any of us here.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's a lot of biocrust on that sample.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got lichen and mosses, and then underneath it you can kind of see little hair-like structures. That's going to be cyanobacteria. So it's got a little bit of everything. Really important to our desert. They let you in.
Yeah, it is. It's a pilot program, so if you have any suggestions on spreading the information. You know, yesterday's.
The train does go through here. Nope. Roped activities. No roped activities. So if you guys haven't figured it out by now, we're doing a pretty cool trail near Moab, Utah called the Corona Arch Trail. And this place is special to me because I had an accident here over a decade ago where I actually had a rappelling accident and fell about 30 feet from the arch straight onto the ground. But I'll tell you that story here as we go. But yeah, broke my ankle. My left ankle was in the ER in Moab for a while. I was in a wheelchair for about a month, crutches for about 2 months, and then slowly but surely I kind of healed myself. And then about a year or two years later, I was like, you know what? I need to start becoming back in shape. So I started to start running, maybe 30 seconds at a time, and then a minute, you know, doing stuff called interval running. Run for a minute, rest for 30 seconds, run for 2 minutes. So I did that. It was a couch to 5K program. And so at the end of 6 weeks, you could run a 5K with no experience. That's how I felt after my accident of being, you know, so lazy, not lazy, but wheelchair bound for about 3 months. In the distance, you can see arch. I'm not sure if that's called Pinto Arch or if it's something else. But yeah, you'll see, I think, 3 arches along this trail. You'll see this one, you'll see another one closer to Corona Arch, and you'll see Corona Arch itself. And if you get lost on the path, you can follow the green paint on the rock. Yeah, so that's Pinto Arch up there. I just talked to a guy who confirmed that. Even the sign says Corona Arch this way, Pinto Arch that way. That's a new sign within like the last 5 years.
Are we going the right way?
Yep, we're on the right path to Corona. Yeah, so back with the story. So a friend and I, you've seen him in my other videos, Ian, him and I did a spring break trip to Moab. I think it was in the year 2010. Anyways, we had a, you know, action-packed plan of doing lots of technical canyons and hikes and stuff. And we did a hike called Courthouse Wash. Then after that, we did a slot canyon called Bighorn Canyon. We rappelled that. And then after that, we're like, nah, let's just do a quick rappel off of Corona Arch and skip lunch. We'll do lunch when we get back. So we hike over here, and we're like literally all by ourselves that entire day. We might have saw like one other person maybe. So Ian and I were all down for rappelling, but then when Ian saw the rappel, he's like, whoa, I'm not rappelling off of that. That's too big. And it's like 110 feet rappel. and it's pretty awesome. I did it with another friend, Jeff, and we rappelled off it maybe 4 times on the previous trip. So I've done this before. So once we got to the arch, yeah, Ian looked at it, was like, nope, I'll just stay here in the bottom and just take pictures and videos of you. I was like, okay. So I climbed up this pretty steep ramp to reach the top of it, and set up the rappel, and I started to go down, and about 20 feet, no, more than that, about 30 feet from the ground, my hand just spasmed out, just like locked. Yeah, so my hand locked up and did the claw. I could not move a finger. And since I was using the less friction side, and Ian wasn't on belay, because I wanted him to take some pictures, you know, of me. And so I dropped like a rock. I dropped like 30 feet, super fast too. I landed on both ankles. There it is. There's Corona Arch in the distance. You can see it where all the people are underneath that. But that's it right there. See all these rock cairns? I would destroy these. I would knock them all down.
Why is there so many?
Because people build them, and once they see one, they build other ones. But I think it detracts from the experience. Yeah, so I hit the bottom, and I was just like, ow, 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 ow. And I bit through my tongue, spitting out lots of blood. And Ian thought I died, just because he said I was like unresponsive for like a second. But I didn't black out from my perspective. So there I was, lying underneath the arch. And so I remember when I hit the ground, I heard a branch snap, but it wasn't a branch, it was my leg, my ankle. It was this left one. So you can actually see the scars right there on the right side and left side over there. But yeah, I fell about 30 feet up from the bottom there. And so Ian rushed to my, my side, and I was using my previous EMT experience, and we did a full assessment on me, checked my eyes, make sure I could feel all the way through my toes, that way there's no spinal injury. Check my head, check my eyes for concussion, which I had nothing. The obvious pain was just in my left ankle, well, and right ankle. But later on though, with the x-ray, there was no broken bone on the right side. Yeah, so I laid on the ground probably for, 10 minutes, and I was like, I actually feel a lot better. And so I tried to stand up, and so I held on to Ian's hands, and he pulled me up, and I was like, ow, 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 ow. Yep, I can't walk on this. It hurt way too bad. And I was like, yep, at that point, we need some help. And so Ian, poor Ian too, not going off any lunch. We had a small breakfast that morning, just like some granola bars. So he ran all the way back down underneath the arch, not, thinking if I was going to make it or not, whatever. Run all the way down to the campground, and then he recruited 2 people, and he's like, hey guys, my friend got hurt, I need your help. And 2 guys came all the way back up with them, and they were covered in sweat because they were basically running the entire time. And they got to the bottom, and we talked, and by this time I was like shivering because it was so cold, because it was in March. And so I'm talking to the guys. One of the guys gave me his sweater to wear, and then they pulled me up, and I was basically doing the shoulder maneuver, basically where I put one shoulder around one person, I did my other shoulder around the other, or my arm around the other guy. And so we tiptoed basically the entire down from the Corona Arch to this part up here, like where the rocks and steps and chains are. To go from there to about right here took us maybe an hour just to go, a step. So I couldn't put any pressure on my left foot. It just hurt so bad, just tingling and pain just shooting up my ankle. But we were making it. And by this time, it was probably 8 p.m. at night. And in March, it was basically pitch black, but we had the headlamp. And stuff like that. So we were kind of prepared. But yeah, it was just slow going. Yeah, like Angel's Landing, huh? Before, there wasn't a chain like this.
Really?
Yeah.
How did you get down this with a broken foot?
Very carefully. Slowly. Basically just sat down on the rock and slid down. Alright, Liam's going up next. Just follow the footholds. I'll be right behind you too. Yeah, so we tiptoed with those two guys with my arms around their shoulders to right here. Then when we got here, it was about 8 o'clock at night. That's when we saw a big group of about 10 people with helmets on that had the medical red cross on it. We're like, are you search and rescue? It's like, we didn't call search and rescue. They're like, no, we're just doing some night rappelling off this arch. And they were just some medical students from like Nebraska, Ohio on their spring break. And they're like, oh, wait, what happened to you? You know, because I was crawling down these ladders here. And then I was like, yeah, you know, I hurt myself. I could use some help. And so they fashioned a splint, and like a little carry-on basket using my webbing. And then 8 of them took a loop, and they carried me down. Yeah, it just feels so weird to like relive this experience. I mean, like actually be walking on the same ground where I was hurt, 12 years ago, and that's actually what kind of inspired me to get into better shape. Because before that time, I was never in track and field. I never ran, like ever. Ran maybe a 5K once in my life. But then I just was like, you know what? I want to start becoming in better shape. And so, yeah, I ran my first half marathon all by myself with no coaching in 2015. And ever since then, been running almost 1 or 2. I think my record is like 5 in 1 year. And I got Sarah involved. Sarah's done 3 half marathons with me. We ran some Ragnars. So it was kind of like the catalyst to get back into better shape. And so when Ian ran back down, I was underneath that arch for maybe an hour. And I just sat there, and it was so quiet, so silent, just the wind and just me and my thoughts. And I was just so thankful just to be alive. We're passing another arch right there. I'm not sure what that name is, but if I find out, I'll put it in the video. It's pretty cool looking. I'm just looking at this little alcove here, see if there's any water from the dripping spring and the ferns. Yeah, there is. You can hear it. And it just collects down here. That's why this grass is all green. There's a tree here, right? That was in 2010. And then about 2 years later, after I got healed up and could start walking again, my friends wanted to go do the famous Corona Arch rope swing. And so they had a friend who hooked up all the ropes to the very, very tip top, and they would jump off kind of right there. I'll point at it with an arrow, and they would do a swing and swing through the arch. And that was in 2012. Then I think like in 2016, after someone actually died on this arch, but they closed off all rappelling and Corona Arch rope activities. Yeah, so right where that crack was where you would jump off, run this way, and then swing underneath the arch. And once it would stop swinging, you're about 20 feet from the ground, then you would rappel down the rest of the way. And that's how you would do that. It's about 100 and maybe it's like 95 feet. but it's close to 100 feet when you rappel from the tip top. So I'm trying to remember where I landed. So you rappel off kind of the middle, kind of like just right up there. You can see the rope grooves, and so I think in this area,
Right where we're sitting?
probably is where you would. That's where you would rappel from, and then you would land right here.
So you rappel off that side of it?
Yeah. Yep.
Do you freehand?
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
And then you do. Yep. So you rappel down about maybe 10 feet on the rock, then it transforms into a free hang the entire way down. And then the way up there, you actually climb over this way and climb up that steep ramp. But that's kind of scary going up there because on the right side is a sheer just drop off. So usually someone would climb up first, drop a rope, then you would climb up, hand climb up the rope to the top.
I saw that.
Little do people know, like I think in the 1950s, someone actually flew their plane through the arch just as a stunt. Yeah, they flew in from this way and they flew the plane right through this. It was a small little plane. But imagine that, just flying this way, dropping in, flying through the arch. Yeah, it looks like a giant skull right there, huh? You got the two eyes. You got the white teeth right there. We'd call this a skull rock. So to reach up there, you have to walk all the way over here and go up that ramp right in front of me. So I won't hike up there. I'll just kind of show you what it looks like. Alright, so there's the other side. So there's the ramp that takes you to the top. So see the Moki steps that people have carved? So we would climb that. Yeah, it would be scary about halfway up. Then you would reach the top, walk along the top there, and then on that side there's some bolts, actually a lot of bolts. You tie your anchors to that, and you would rappel down maybe about 10 feet from the top, and then you'd start to transition from the wall rappel to the free hang rappel. So now just imagine 30 feet from the ground, maybe like the last third of that winch or arch window. That's where I fell down, just straight onto my ankles. Yep, and there's the story. Yeah, one time I remember doing a rope swing in 2012, the story I was telling you earlier, but I got too scared. I was actually hooked up, but I was like, I just can't do this. So I backed out and I walked back and climbed down that. And it was scarier climbing down this than going up. I didn't have any ropes with me, but it was kind of terrifying. And I came back down here, and it was like an all-day thing, doing the whole Chrono Arch swing setup. We probably got here, you know, like at 10 a.m. and we're probably here till 6 p.m. and we're just so thirsty, so hot, just so dehydrated, you know. But if you're interested in watching that video of what my friends did, look for a Jeff Guest, like an actual guest of the party, you know, Jeff Guest Chrono Arch swing, and you could watch my friends jump off that arch. Yeah, anyways, I think we're gonna head back down now. Because you're a very proper lady. I'm a very improper man, according to Emma.
Papa skills.
I'm proper. Goodbye, Chrono Arch. Yeah, it's crazy to think, like 12 years ago, like no one was here. I mean, of course people knew about it, people hiked it, but just the recent uptick with social media, You know, even like my YouTube videos are help showcasing these areas, which is the catch-22, because you don't want it to turn into a zoo, but you also want to, you know, give good information. Yeah, so when I got to right there, I was lowering myself down on the ladder and came across a group of 8 people. Anyway, so when I got there, we saw the 8 people with helmets on, and they're like, you guys need help? Like, what's going on here? It's like, yeah, I just fell down from the arch. I could use some help. They're like, oh, that's perfect. We're actually medical students from Omaha. Yeah, so we got some webbing out. And if you're familiar with webbing, it's how you build your anchors to rappel from. And so they laid it all out, and I was able to lay down inside of it and create like a body harness. And there was 8 of them, and there was loops around the webbing, and they all took, there was 4 on each side, and they basically hauled me down this mountain, just kind of, you know, just carrying the loop with me laying down on it. And I felt bad because with that group there was a lady who felt like my head had to be elevated, and so she was doing like the crab walk, holding my head with 2 hands. So she was hunched over like this, you know, holding my head up the entire way down for 1.5 miles. And so her sweat was dripping from her forehead onto my eyes and my mouth and stuff. She's like, I'm sorry. And I was like, I actually feel okay. Like, you don't need to hold my head, but they insisted on holding my head up. Maybe an hour later, we reached the car, and they loaded me into the car, and my friend Ian drove, and I was just in the passenger seat. You know, at this time I was just like so hungry, but we need to go to the hospital. So before we went to the hospital, I was like, Ian, it's like, we can get some food first. So we stopped at the McDonald's in town through the drive-through, and we got some hamburgers and fries. But like right after that, I was like, no, if something happens, I'll probably have to barf up the hamburger and fries. And I was like, no, I'll just eat this till I get checked out first. So we went to the Moab hospital and got a wheelchair. And by this time it was like 10:30 at night. And they're like, yeah, sorry guys, there's not a lot of vacancy here. I was like, what? I just hurt myself. They're like, well, if you can check in at a hotel and come back tomorrow morning. It's like, I can't even walk. You know, they're like, oh, actually, okay, all right, we'll try to find a spot. So they cleared a spot out, and I was able to go inside. They did a few x-rays, and that's where they discovered that I fractured my talus bone. My other bones, ulna, I think, and the other bone, those didn't break at all. It was just my talus bone, which is your ankle bone, which kind of shattered into lots of pieces. But I remember when we, before we went to McDonald's for dinner, first thing I did was call my mother, you know, and I just said, hey Mom, this is Brett. Don't worry, I'm just fine, but I had an accident down here in Moab. So then I told her of what happened, and then I was like, yeah, I'm staying here overnight at the hospital, but I need someone to drive back the car and all that stuff. And so she got my brother, and my mom loaded up the car the next morning, came down. I saw them, I don't know, like around 10 a.m. And the rest is history from there. So after I got home though, you know, did foot and ankle assessments, stuff like that. So I was in a cast for a little bit of time to let my tendons shrink, and then they could do surgery, which I think actually happened on April 1st, April Fool's Day of 2010. And then when I woke up out of surgery, I was probably in the most incredible pain I've ever been in my entire life. Yeah, I've even survived a motorcycle crash, but that branch break sound when I fell, and just that surgery was way worse than the fall. But I can walk again. I'd say my leg or ankle is about 99% back to normal, and that's 12 years later. So they did an awesome job on fixing up my ligaments and tendons. One of my tendons, I think it's called the deltoid ligament, and they said from the shock, from the bounce, actually made it fall off. So they had to use like a star-shaped screw and weird little strings, I guess, to repair it. And right after surgery, like that, the first month, it was so hard to bend and move it. And then after that, did physical therapy for about 3 months. You know, because my ankle couldn't move more than just like an inch. It just hurt so bad because I had to re-stretch it, you know. And so physical therapy was a huge help. And then slowly but surely, I was like, you know what, I need to get into better shape again. Because sitting in a wheelchair, I think I gained, you know, a couple pounds. And so I started to walk, and even walking on the trail, it just kind of like, ooh, you know, kind of slow and steady. So, but I did it. That's true. What did you guys think of that hike?
I liked it.
It was a good hike? Sarah?
Yeah, it was awesome.
Pretty cool hike?
Super beautiful.
Good to hear. Well, that's it from the Corona Arch Trail near Moab, Utah.